and CEO of Trilogy Metals. Trilogy is listed on the Toronto and New York Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol TMQ. And for more information on Trilogy, I encourage you to go to our website, trilogymetals.com. Today I'm going to talk to you about our exciting portfolio of assets in Alaska that are focused on the Ambler Mining District. And what we're really talking about is a series of deposits that are high grade in nature, located in a safe jurisdiction, and that we're moving forward with as we work with our partners, South 32, NANA, which is a native corporation in Alaska, and ADA, which is a state development agency in Alaska. With that, let me begin. As I mentioned, Trilogy is located in the Ambler Mining District. This is the district that is very well known and in fact has been explored since the 1950s. In total, already 8 billion pounds of copper, 3 billion pounds of zinc, and over 1 million ounces of precious metals have been identified over a series of deposits. We're talking about high-grade copper here, and they're all located in a safe jurisdiction with a strong rule of law and a strong mining history. Our projects are part of a joint venture with South 32, and I'll give you a bit more information on how that joint venture was created. But the key here is that we are talking about a district, not one mine, but potentially several mines in the same area with significant exploration upside. We have two advanced projects, Arctic, on which we delivered a feasibility study recently, which has a $1.1 billion NPV and 27% internal rate of return, and Bornite, which is an advanced copper deposit. I'll be speaking of both in a few minutes. With respect to our share capitalization, we have a solid supportive shareholder base. As you can see from this slide, we have a significant number of major shareholders that account for approximately 65% of the outstanding shares of a company. In addition, we're well funded. We're in a strong financial position. We have $12 million in cash at the Trilogy level. There's no debt. And then in our joint venture with South 32, on a pro rata basis, we have $72.5 million. Our current market cap is approximately $280 million. So when you look at the enterprise value, what you're talking about is about $190 million, which represents our share of the interest in the Ambler Mining District. So we feel like we're in a strong position to be able to move forward. We're well funded as we look on developing our series of opportunities within the portfolio. I mentioned previously our partnerships, and there's three of them that I want to speak to today. One is our joint venture partnership with South 32. The second is with our local native partnership with NANA, which is a native corporation in the state of Alaska. And lastly, with the state of Alaska and ADA, which is advancing infrastructure to allow us to move forward on development of assets in our portfolio. Let me start with South 32. South 32 is a large Australian-based mining company. They were previously part of BHP, but were spun out a number of years ago. We entered into a joint venture earlier this year where South 32 contributed $145 million into the joint venture, and we contributed our share. We contributed the Ambler Mining District assets into the joint venture. We're in a strong position as a result of having South 32 in the portfolio. In addition to the $145 million that they invested in creating Ambler Metals, they have previously invested $30 million in exploration, and as I mentioned earlier, owned approximately 11.6% of the outstanding shares of Trilogy. So all told, South 32 has already invested about $200 million into the Ambler Mining District. When we talk about the Ambler Mining District, we're talking about 172,000 hectares of exploration potential. It started with lands that were owned by Kennecott that were contributed into the joint venture together with lands owned by NANA. The area of interest, as I said, covers 172,000 hectares, and any opportunities or developments within that area are part of the Ambler Metals LLC entity. Our second partnership is with NANA, which is a native corporation. NANA has a strong mining history in the state of Alaska. They're located in the northwest part of the state, and their ground or their land is where the Red Dog mine is located. Red Dog is the largest zinc mine in the world, and we're focusing our development on the Ambler Mining District on the Red Dog model and effectively modeling on how we're going to move forward in terms of developing the road infrastructure, similar to what Red Dog had done. What Red Dog did is develop a road from its mine to its port to allow it to ship concentrate from the port. And they did that working with ADA, where the road was paid over time through tolls that were charged for usage of a road. And we're looking at exactly the same model. But instead of moving towards the sea where the Red Dog port is located, we're going to actually move inland to connect to the Dalton Highway, and I'll speak to the reason for that in a couple of minutes. But having NANA as a partner with its 14,000 shareholders is very important, as it gives us a strong base to draw from in terms of employment. We have an entity that is economically tied to the development of the asset, and that's very important as we move forward. And as I said, we see NANA as a very strong partner in terms of a development of a district as a whole. The third partnership is with the Alaska Industrial Development and Export Agency. And the authority which oversees infrastructure development in the state is who we're working with to develop the 211-mile road that would connect the district to the Dalton Highway. As you can see from this slide, the Dalton Highway connects to Fairbanks, and from Fairbanks, there's rail service that goes to Anchorage, where a deep sea port is already located. The only missing infrastructure that we require is the Ambler Access Road, and that would be a private industrial use road only, initially starting out as an ice road that would eventually be developed into a single lane road with pullouts, and then finally into a 2-lane road, which would facilitate traffic to transport concentrate from the district to the Port of Alaska, to the Port of Anchorage. When we're looking at the permitting process, we received the record of decision earlier this year. That was a milestone that had taken many, many years to happen. We're now at the stage where we're focused on the detailed engineering, financing, and construction of a road. And we're working with ADA to look at how we can fast track the detailed engineering and move forward to the next phase of development of a road, which we see taking approximately 3 years. ADA will be responsible for the financing and construction of a road, and we will end up entering into a tolling arrangement with ADA that would allow us to be able to transport our concentrate from the Ambler Mining District to the port in Anchorage. When we look at the district, this is where it gets really exciting. As you can see from this slide, the AMDIAC cuts right through the middle of a number of our deposits that we have in the district. I had mentioned Arctic previously, but bornite is equally exciting, and there's tremendous opportunities to develop bornite further. Already we've identified approximately 6 billion pounds of copper at bornite. And then we have a host of other targets that are adjacent to Arctic, which in time we expect will be able to be incorporated into the Arctic mine plan moving forward. So all in all, this is a story partly about development of Arctic and bornite, but more importantly, it's a story about exploration upside in a district that's been well known, but has lacked infrastructure that would allow the development of a district to occur. To give you an indication of what we're talking about at Arctic, we're talking about 43.4 million tons at 4.2% copper equivalent. That's a very high grade deposit in anybody's book. And the fact that it's open pit means that access is quite easy. And the footprint that we would have for the mine is small, which is another advantage in terms of the development of Arctic moving forward. We just recently published a feasibility study for Arctic, which indicates a mine life of roughly 12 years and an NPV of $1.1 billion on an after-tax basis with an IRR of 27%. If we look at those numbers in the context of a current market environment, we're talking about an NPV of roughly $1.4 billion and an IRR of over 30%. A couple of other numbers I'd like to highlight. cash costs are only 32 cents, but based on current spot prices, they would actually be negative 2 cents. And when we look at the capital intensity ratio, that's in the amount of capital that you would require to produce an equivalent ton of copper. We're talking about $6,400 a ton, which is very, very low. The project also has a relatively quick payback of 2.6 years. The project would produce three concentrates: a copper concentrate, a zinc concentrate, and a precious metal concentrate. Precious metals accounts for about 13% of percentage of revenue on the basis of base case prices. But if we look at it based on current prices, that's more like 20%, which makes it very attractive in terms of opportunities to look at finance and to ultimately bring the cost structure down, given the valuable component that you would have that would be based on precious metals. This is an overview of what the mine site looks like. Pit to the right, infrastructure in the valley, tailings facility to the left. Where we're at in the permitting process is we've completed the feasibility study that will be provided to the Ambler Metals management team. They'll be looking at optimization opportunities associated with that study, and then we expect to begin the permitting process shortly after that. We see a permitting process taking approximately 3 years once we make a decision to move forward on permitting. I mentioned that we're in the state of Alaska, but as far as the land package goes, there's no federal lands, which makes it easier to permit. So we're basically focused on state and borough approvals, with most of the significant permits being state permits that we require, with one 404 wetlands permit that we need from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to advance the project. In terms of exploration potential, I mentioned Arctic. I've talked a little bit about bornite, but let me highlight what bornite is. It's roughly 180 million tons, grading approximately 1.5% copper. There's a number of other exciting targets that are adjacent to Arctic: Horse Creek, Sunshine, Shuniak, which give you an indication of the tremendous ability to extend mine life beyond the projected 12 years. And that's why we're really excited about moving forward, because we see the potential of the district and the potential to expand the Arctic mine past its projected 12-year mine life, and also ultimately bring bornite into production. This is what's known as a VMS deposit, and there's a number of VMS copper belts in the world. Flin Flon and Noranda are two of them that are highlighted on this slide. Both of those belts have operated for multi-decades. In the case of Flin Flon, 75 years. In the case of Noranda, 85 years. So we know we've got something special here in terms of being able to operate for multiple decades going forward. The district has historically been rich in copper, zinc, lead, gold, silver, and cobalt. And with our partnership with South 32 and the creation of Ambler Metals, we're now in a position to really start to look at exploration on a more grand basis, given that we have $145 million at the JB, which will allow us to conduct exploration in the future. And when we get back to site in May of next year, we expect to have an expanded exploration program for the 2021 season. As I said, we're in a strong position financially. We're operating in a great jurisdiction, Alaska. We're well funded, and we've got the benefit of operating in a district where we've got high grade opportunities, and we look forward to providing you with more details in the future on our activities. I encourage you to go to our website, trilogymetals.com. As I mentioned, the ticker symbol is TMQ. We're listed on the Toronto and New York Stock Exchange. Thanks very much.